Hello and welcome. Today we are fitting the Cruiser Company rear bar to my Y62 Patrol. So after about 12 months of waiting, the rear bar is finally rocked up. So it's been a little while coming. It was to be expected. This bar was in development when I ordered it, and they did have to go through quite a bit of stuff to do with the ADR approval of the bar, because it obviously incorporates a tow bar, so it's got to be ADR approved. So they can basically tick off and say, yep, this rear bar and tow bar combo is going to be sufficient for a 3.5 ton towing capacity, as well as the 350 kilo ball weight. So they've obviously got all that ticked off, and they should hopefully be getting out orders a lot quicker now. So we'll get a bit more of a close up and just have a look a bit more at the quality of everything that they've done here. So you've obviously got your mounting hitch there, which the welds on that look quite substantial, look quite good. Can't see any sort of welding defects there. It's obviously all been painted up, so it's a little bit harder to tell. However, welds look pretty good. Welds here look quite nice too, and especially through here as well, they look quite nice. Where welds don't matter so much, they're a little bit more just relaxed. However, through all the structural parts of the rear bar, all the welds do look good. They look like they've got good penetration. They don't look like they're sitting out too much. A little bit sticky outy there, but I'm sure that'll be just fine. Like I mentioned, all the welds do look pretty good, and they've done a really good job with the construction. We've obviously got the dual swingaways on this one. So we've got the jerry cans and the spare tyre. So we've got a heap of stuff that it's come with. There is just bags full of stuff everywhere. Something that sort of really stood out to me was the fact that they'd labelled every single bag with what it was. So that was really awesome to see. Everything is labelled. Even everything that's in this box to do with the swingaways, everything's all labelled, and it gives you a bit of a rundown of what should be in there, and if you need to use Loctite or not. So massive props to the guys at the Cruiser Company for doing that. That's awesome, because could you imagine how much time it would take to individually label like probably 20 bags worth of stuff for every single order, just to ship it out to a customer. That's really good attention to detail, and makes my life a lot easier at the end. So thank you, Cruiser Company, for doing that, because yeah, that's an awesome way to do things. Because if things weren't marked, yeah, I could figure out what they are, but it's a lot easier to be like, okay, I'm up to this bit now, where's that bit that I need? Oh, there it is, there's the bag for such and such. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, really appreciate stuff like that, which is just awesome. When you do order your bar, they will send you the video on how to install it, and also on how to construct the swingaways. So that's pretty handy as well. There's a bit to it. It's pretty complicated doing the rear bar. There's a lot more to it than just doing the bull bar. The bull bar was pretty straightforward and easy. This will take us a bit longer. This will be all day instead of a couple of hours. Yeah, the bull bar was quite straightforward. Whereas there's a lot more components and bits and pieces that we need to do and fiddling around. Like all those lights and stuff that come with it, they need to be wired in, that I can ascertain from this point. However, it might change a bit when we get up to actually putting it all in. So yeah, we'll see how we go. But first of all, we need to take the spare tyre out and take the fittings out for the airbags. Just put them somewhere for the meantime, and then basically we need to get the rear bar off, the rear bumper off, and then we can start chucking. We can basically take all the radar stuff out and brackets and bits and pieces, and then basically we can just chuck the rear bar on. That part's straightforward. However, then we need to measure and cut the actual bumper bar itself, and then we can get into doing a few more nitty-gritty things. There's a lot more sort of complicated, smaller little jobs that need to be done, more so than just chucking the bull bar on and bolting it up. Now, they say that this rear bar is 70 kilos. However, it is definitely much more than 70 kilos. I could weigh it with the scales. However, we've got glass scales and I think they'd probably break if I put this on it. So I'm not going to do that. However, I will go to the weigh bridge once I've put this on, and that'll give us a pretty good indication of how much this actually does weigh, because I thought, oh yeah, 70 kilos, that's no dramas, I can lift that up, I can put that on myself. However, I went to lift it yesterday and I was like, yeah, that feels like a lot more than 70 kilos. It's probably more like 120, 140 kilos, something like that. But the scales the weigh bridge will certainly tell how much it actually does weigh. Perhaps it's just a bit more awkward to pick up and it actually does weigh 70 kilos, who knows. But yeah, we'll figure that out at some stage. All right, so we'll get all this crap off the car and then, yeah, we'll sort of go from there. Got the rear bar off. Fairly straightforward, fairly simple. Just some screws underneath and then some up in the wheel well there under the guard. And then there's just one plug for all your sensors on that right side here near that radar bracket. Undo that and then everything will come off. So it's fairly straightforward. Obviously you've got to take your lights out as well. They've got funky little clips on them, so be very gentle and careful with them. They will just pull out. You do need to just pull that blue bit off, just pull it back. They will come out, but just be very gentle with them because it's obviously very delicate wires for LEDs, so just be careful. And then that's my lines for the airbags, so we'll have to just reroute that a little bit, get that out of the way. So now we can start to take all the bracketry and stuff off that we don't need, and then yeah, we can basically just chuck the rear bar on, and then it's all the other little bits and pieces that we need to do. This time I am going to have to use the jack to jack the rear bar up to get it up there. Even though I go to the gym every single day and I deadlift well over 100 kilos, yeah, this bar has put me through my paces. So yeah, we'll have to actually jack that one up to get her up there. But anyway, if you do have a mate, get them to give you a bit of a hand to lift it up there. You can also use the jack method, which I will demonstrate later on. So that's all it is to the rear of the car. Looks pretty funny with nothing on the back of the car, but anyway, it'll soon have the rear bar on there. Alrighty, so we've removed all the bracketry and bits and pieces off just the rear part of the chassis here. We've removed the radars and the radar brackets. It's all fairly straightforward stuff. So we've removed all that stuff. The majority of the nuts and bolts that are on the car are 10mm for the smaller stuff. Some of it is 13mm for the stuff that was bolted to the chassis, and some of it was 18mm as well. So there's not too many variations in bolt size here. I've obviously made a bit of a collection of bolts and bits and pieces that I've taken off. Good to keep all your nuts and bolts and things because they're sort of can be used throughout the whole car. Lots of different bits and pieces have them, so it's good to just have a box that you can take away on a trip, and if you lose a bolt for something, well, chances are you probably have it, because the bolts are sort of used throughout the car anyway. Now, with your radar actual sensors themselves, be very careful with them, do not drop them. Yeah, be very careful, put them in a safe place for now, and label them when they're on the car so you know which side they've actually come from. So I've obviously got right hand side for the right hand side and left hand for the left hand side. Label them so you know, because if they're all a bit, if you put them on the wrong way, well, the car will spaz out and probably shut down. So just label them, make sure you know where they have come from. There's a bit of a sort of a wing thing that comes off there, take that off, and the radar brackets, then also what sort of looks like a recovery point, but it's really just a tie down point on this passenger side of the car. Take that out. I think that's about it. There's nothing really now that would stop the actual rear bar going on. So, and I'll update you if there is anything else. However, that's where we're at so far. Obviously, just be mindful of your lines for your airbags if you do have airbags, and start to think of a bit of a plan of where they need to go. The kit does come with a 7-pin trailer plug as well, so before you start to get too carried away with putting the rear bar on, probably a good idea to get that wired up first. We'll double check that we've done everything right, and then we can sort of move on to doing some trailer plug wiring and sort of seeing how we're going. Do apologise, I know it's very dark where I'm actually trying to film because the sun is so glary. Alrighty, so if you have got to this stage, you're on the right track. Alright, I just double checked. There's a bit to do. Give yourself a good day to do it, I reckon. So far it's been pretty straightforward, and I'm even filming it as well, so it's cutting into my time as well. So you should definitely be able to get this done in a day with a mate. But if you do need the car for something the next day, probably give yourself a weekend or something like that, just in case something takes a little bit longer than expected. But so far, so good. Everything seems to be going along pretty good. All right, so now we're gonna move on to doing the lights, the latches for the swingaways, and the ball stubs for the gas struts. So the lights will go, there's obviously a hole on the far right for, I think, reverse lights, and then next to that is the light for the indicators and the brakes. And we've got everything that we need over there. Comes in a nice little box with all the bits and pieces that you do need. It's also a number plate light as well, so we'll have to get to that bit probably at the end. We also do have to take all the sensors out of the old bumper and put them into the new rear bar. It comes with new brackets and stuff for, or covers for the sensors, because the holes look to be a bit bigger. The kit, I've been really impressed with it so far. Everything's labelled nicely, it comes with everything that you need. Everything's really good, high quality stuff. Very impressed. It's a very well thought out kit. Obviously the Cruiser company is used to doing cruiser stuff, Land Cruiser stuff. They've obviously jumped into the patrol market. They do stuff for GQs and GUs, and now Y62s as well. And it's nice because it's different. Obviously there's been the major players that have been in the 62 market, like Razzler, Kmart, there's obviously Dash. I think there's a couple of, might be another rear bar as well out there somewhere. So there's obviously been the major players, so it's nice to have something that's a bit new. And I think this is probably going to be the first installation video that someone privately has done other than the company. So we've got one of these brackets on that we need to. We've got the little ball pinny thingy my bobby's in, just a 12mm. You do need to use them nuts for them. There's 4 of them. Delicate act of getting those nuts onto them. You have to go through the light hole there, so don't get too excited and go and put them lights on, because you do need to put them in first, those little lugs there. Got the lights in. Obviously you want your indicators to the farthest exterior of the car, so you want the indicators on the right side for the right, and obviously on the left side for the left. That's the way it needs to be as per the rules. All indicators need to be as far on the side of the vehicle as they can be. A lot of modern cars these days have like indicators back and around the wrong way. which is actually illegal going by the rules. Just don't know how they're getting away with that, but anyway. So you need to have your indicators on the far extremities of the car, and then brake lights in the middle, as per the ruling. So make sure you get that around the right way. Now I'm using some of this Loctite, the 620 retaining compound, high strength, high temp. You can use, whatever Loctite that you want to use that is high strength, but it's just what I had lying around, so we'll go with this. So this will do the job. But you do want some high strength Loctite. This will obviously be subjected to all the vibrations, bangs, crashes, and will incorporate your tow bar, so you need to obviously make sure that nothing's going to come off. You may have also noticed that we have the loom out for the sensors as well. They're just double-sided taped into the factory bumper, so when you go to put these in the new rear bar, you do have to put some Sikaflex on where it was double-sided taped, retain them in there so they don't come out, because you don't want them to come out. So there is a specific way that those brackets are supposed to go on. As you can see, there is the open circle, and then there's like a square piece to the right. Bar will tell you which way they're supposed to go. So that circle bit, there'll be a cutout in the actual bar, and that's the side that circle bit in that bracket needs to go into. Same on both sides, obviously. Alright, so we've got our sensors in. I'm somehow covered in Sikaflex, so you'll just want to put the sensors in the holes, and then put tape on the outside just to hold the sensor in the hole until the Sikaflex dries. Now I am using some automotive Sikaflex. It's 227, I think is what it is. Yes, it is 227 fast curing automotive Sikaflex. Put some Sikaflex on both of the wings of the sort of bracket that the sensor sits in, and then just push them in and tape them to the outside. So next I'm going to figure out where the wiring is for the trailer plug, just so that I don't have to worry about trying to get into places when the rear bar's already on. So I'll try and find where that is, and then we can kick on with the rear bar. We ran the loom for the trailer plug. The plug's actually the front end where you can get access. Even if you do have drawers, it's a bit tight, but you can still get in there just from the passenger side seat there. So, and you're supposed to run it under the floor and obviously over to the right side of the car. I'm not taking the drawers out just to do that, so I ran it to the left side, which you can do. You can pass it back through, and then you can there's a grommet here, and it's perfectly positioned, just so you can put that rest of the loom through. So I've put it through the left side, which isn't ideally where I'd like it. I would have preferred it on the right side, but so I'll add a little bit of Sikaflex to that just to help seal it up. But that's just the factory grommet that was in there. I cut the grommet that was on the actual loom off just because it was a bit too big. That one fits perfectly, so we're running that one. Bit of Sikaflex, and we've got the rest of the loom out, and there's plenty of it, so we should have plenty of space to be able to get that all plugged up properly. Now it is actually time to lift the bar up and on to the chassis. So we need to grab a couple of bolts, and they will go in there. So we'll get them in, then we should be good to go, I think. Yeah, we'll do that, chuck it on, and yeah, then we'll keep cracking on with it. All right, so we've got it on. It's all bolted up. Chassis bolts are in. Those 4 bolts are in. It's all measured up and even, and yeah, everything's all good. So now we just need to get the sort of like little chassis brace wings, put them on. I think we'll probably be nearly done with the bar, and then it's constructing the swingaways, and then yeah, that'll sort of be about it. Definitely a day's job. You're definitely going to need some mates to help you lift that up. I did. You'll need about 3 of yous to do it. 1 on each side, and then 1 in the middle to get the bolts in, and then yeah, you'll be pretty right after that. So yeah, we'll do these other little bits, and yeah, we'll getting pretty close to being finished, I think. Alrighty, so we've got the chassis braces on, they bolt onto there, and then they go under there and bolt onto the actual bar itself. So that just helps to brace everything up. Same on the other side, fairly straightforward, fairly easy. So alrighty, so it is now a couple days after I initially started filming. Ran into a few little hiccups along the way. The longest part was just trailer plug wiring sorted out. And then I got to the bit where I need to cut the bumper, and I realized I had no cutting discs for the grinder. So I had to go and get some, and it was the end of the day, so I didn't have the time to get it done. Yesterday I did cut the bumper, and we now have it pretty well how it needs to be. I do need to trim a bit more out of it, and I do need to trim the whole top section for the metal panel that sits on top of it. That metal panel goes on top. So we'll need to mark out the top and cut that today, and then we can basically start on just doing the swingaways. Then that's sort of it. We need to, there's a few bits and pieces that we need to tidy up and do along the way. We need to put the little hooks in the section on the right. Now, in the instructional video, I didn't show you to do that, and they didn't do it either, but you need to sort of do it before you put the bar on, because you can't really get to the bolts now that you've put them in. I'll have to take the bumper section off to get to them, but anyway, I needed to do that anyway, so I can show you how you're supposed to do that. In the video that they did as well, the sensors fit in a lot nicer than that. I think they've cut them holes bigger than what they did in the video. Not that it's a problem, because they do give you these little blanky bits here, so they give you them that are also color matched, so you can Sikaflex them in and just tidy that up a little bit more as well. Obviously we need to put the reverse lights in, and yeah, have to do all the wiring and stuff for all of that. Mounted the radar units in. You get these acrylic panels, they just get Sikaflexed on, and obviously, like I showed, the radar sits behind that panel there. Just make sure you obviously have that the right way. There's obviously a wrong and a right way to have that acrylic panel. You obviously want the coloured section facing out, so don't get too confused. Now, if you've noticed, I have put these here. That's not where they go, I just put them there so I didn't lose them. Yeah, don't put yours there. Those ones obviously need to go in the actual swingways themselves for the gas struts. So, but apart from that, it's looking pretty good. It fits well. There's like 0.5 centimetre difference, height and left and right on the bar itself. Variation on both sides, which is fine. I'm happy with 0.5 centimetre. It's sort of a bit hard to get it 100%. Because these bolts here, if you notice, the left one has a lot more room around it than the right one, and if I went and got it 100% perfect, then I wouldn't have been able to do up that right top bolt just because I couldn't get the socket in there. So I had to move it over just a little bit so I could actually get it tightened up. But that's no big deal. Tell 0.5 centimetre by looking at it, so pretty happy with that. Now just moving under the bar, if you do have airbags, obviously the world's your oyster as to where you can put them wherever you like, just as long as it's all out of the way. So for me, I think I'm going to just drill a hole through this piece of plate here and then have them sticking out this side here. So then I have pretty easy access to pump them up, and they're all sort of hidden out of the way. Obviously we've got to wire in our trailer plug, our lights, which will be a little bit of a challenge. I think the wiring is going to honestly be the hardest part of this. The actual getting the bar on is pretty straightforward and easy. The wiring is going to be the hardest bit, and of course they don't show you how they did it, so you don't really have anything to go off, which is a little bit annoying, but anyway, it is what it is. Alright, so when you are measuring the bumper bit for the bar, you need to measure from the right side of that down to the top of the bar, and you also need to measure from the right side of that last little hole down to the bar as well, and then you need to measure from the corner of the guard in to the left or to the right side of the hole again. And then you need to measure from the corner of the guard into the left side of the little hole bit there, and then measure from the right side to the left side of these bits on the very extremities of the white plastic bit. So you'll run a piece of tape along the top of the guard there and then mark it all out and write your measurements on there. And then basically all I did was just transfer that tape onto the bumper, and then I just put some more tape along the bottom side of the bumper, measured it there, and then just cut it. And that'll give you plenty to work with. Cut along your line. You'll need to also measure the back as well, and then with a straight, like a ruler or anything that's straight, measure from the front to the rear to sort of give you your angle of cut that you need to do. And then basically just measure it or rule it all the way from one side to the other side, and then that basically give you a rough guideline of where to cut. And then it's the same process for the other side as well, and then that'll give you plenty of bar to work with. You should end up with something that does look like this. Obviously your measurements will be different to mine, so you can't go off mine anyway, but this is what you'll be left with. There'll be a skinny little bit left, and you'll obviously have all your top holes that push into the car to secure the top part of the bar, with the bolt that'll go through on the far side, and then the little plastic pushing clip that secures it from the top, and then all that is good to go. So now we need to measure out the top section to cut out the metal bit on top. Now they only give you that much pinch weld or pinch seal, whatever you want to call it, to do this part here. So you will have to get your own to do the sides, because they do need it just to neaten it up, obviously, because it'll look a bit strange if it's just a flat cut edge on the sides. They do need some pinch seal there to make it look nice and neat. So I'm gonna have to go into Bunnings and get all that. Alrighty, so we've cut this, I suppose, sort of like the first stage of the cut. So you'll just mark it out on a bit of an angle like this, and then obviously line up the metal plate, and then you'll see that you sort of just trace where it's going to be. So now what we have to do when we have it like this is we have to rule straight along this edge, just where it's folded here, and then we can just trim the top piece of this so it's all sort of flat, and then you just put on your pinch seal, and then that bit's done. We can bolt this bit on, which will be great, I'm sure. Coming along fairly good. I've mounted the hooks for the latches. I have a pain, there is room to get in there behind it, so it's not too bad. Do them bits when you're making the brackets, make it a lot easier for yourself. So yeah, we'll mark this out, cut this bit off, put the pinch seal on, and then we'll be done. Alrighty, so we've got the plate mounted on now. We've got the top section of the bar cut. You'll be left with some ugly little gaping holes there, but I do have a plan for that. Get some more pinch weld and probably just go around that bit, although it might look a bit funny, we'll have to see. But yeah, it's better than a hole there. So yeah, we got the plate mounted on. Bit of a pain, just because there's very little access to get that bolt in, because you've got to go through that hole there, and the far back one as well, a little bit tricky, but persevere and you will get there. Obviously Loctite everything, and yeah, it should be good to go. So went and got a pinch seal and go around and make sure that's all nice and tidy. I got pretty well the smallest one that I could get, 3 meter roll, 13mm by 10mm, so that'll allow us to fit it nicely around there, and it shouldn't interfere too much either, so we'll be yeah, we'll be good. So I'm pretty happy that I've got all that sorted out now. I sort of have a bit more of a plan of how I'm going to do things. So. Alrighty, so we've added the pinch seal around the corners. I don't know why they don't just include it in the kit. Maybe they do and I just didn't get it, so it's obviously a must do for when you are doing this, definitely grab some pinch seal for the corners. So now I'm going to wire in the lights. I just thought before I put the swingways on there and I've got plenty of room, I'll do the lights and make sure that they're all set to go and I don't have to worry about them. Let the soldering iron heat up and we'll get to work. Alrighty, so we have the lights all wired up now and working as they should be. Fairly straightforward process. I was going to wire them into the lights on the car, but I figured why would I not just use the trailer plug wiring? It's right there and it means that the run is a lot shorter and it's a lot simpler. Will just work. So we've got all that sorted out. Indicators work, brake lights work, all that sort of stuff. So all sweet there. I haven't done the reverse lights yet. I'm going to do that now. I'm going to tidy up the wiring run and stuff under the bar. I've just got a cable tied up under there at the moment because I'm still working on doing the reverse lights. So once I get that sorted, then we'll be Mickey Mouse ready to go. A few little bits and pieces to do still. We need to put the little covers on the sensors, surrounds, and then obviously you still have to do the swingaways, which there's a little bit of work involved in that just because of of how you have to put them together. A little bit of work to do there, but that's okay. So for now, we'll get this wiring tidied up and get ready to do the reverse lights, and then that's pretty much all the wiring done. We obviously still need to do the wiring for the number plate light, but I'll do that when we get up to doing the carriers, just so then we can route everything correctly. Now doing these lights is super easy. I couldn't find a diagram on how what colors of the lights meant what, but luckily the colors correspond with the trailer plug wiring, and sure enough that is how it is supposed to go. So that worked out really well, made it a lot neater and easier than having to run wires up into lights and that sort of thing. So this is definitely the way to do it. Obviously make sure everything is soldered correctly, and there's no chance of something failing later on down the track. Make sure all your connections are heat shrinked and nice and waterproof, so don't get any water and corrosion starting to happen where you've cut and soldered. So mine's all nicely heat shrinked, taped. I've also used some silicone tape which is self-sealing and doesn't allow any water through it, so it's all pretty secure and should be good to go. So now I'll just tidy up those few bits and do the reverse lights, and then then it's pretty much on to doing the swingaways. So getting pretty close to completion now. Alright, so we got both of the reverse lights now wired in just the same way as I did the rest of the lights. Still need to tidy up the routing of the wiring, but that'll be a later problem. We're now going to move on to doing the jerry can holder. So we're going to chuck this one together and then we can start getting these arms finished up, and then the bar is pretty much done. So not too much left to go now. So we'll get this done, and then we'll be just doing a few little touch-up bits here and there to get it finalised. But yeah, this is the sort of main last part. So once this is done, that's it. Right, so it's a pretty simple process to get this going. All the Allen key bolts obviously supplied. Find the packet that says jerry can holder, and that's got everything you need in it. So you want your button heads facing inwards, and obviously Loctite everything as you go. Just got these loosely in for the minute, and my jerry can holder is a little bit bowed out at the back, but it'll be fine. Once all the bolts go in, it'll all push itself into where it needs to go, so it'll be no worries at all. Yeah, pretty straightforward process, just lots of bolts. So then we'll have to extend your number plate lights. So I've just soldered some wire onto the existing wires. It doesn't really matter if you have the same color wire, just as long as you know which side is which. I'm not too sure where that's going to just yet, but I'll figure that out a bit later on. There's a lot of soldering that you've got to do with this install, so make sure you've got enough solder, good soldering iron, and all the associated consumables and bits and pieces that you'll need to do it all. If you have it all ready to go, just make it a heap easier for the process of doing all of the rear bar stuff. So just have all that stuff ready to go. Alrighty, so we've got the jerry can holder on now. Didn't really film much because the camera was charging, but I'll run you through what we've done. We've obviously got the arms on, pretty self-explanatory with getting the arms on. You'll grab your arm piece. This is the top. The bottom looks different. You put your big bearing in the bottom with your other stainless bit, put that on. That stainless bit has a rubber O-ring in it. Just tap that in gently and that'll sit in there. And then your small bearing will go in here with the washer on top, and then castle nut on top of that, and then you split pin through it. Depending on how tight you do up your castle nut will depend on how much resistance there is in the arm. I recommend doing it up a little bit more tight than you think you need it, just so when that arm actually gets moving and frees up a little bit, that it's still nice and tight. It shouldn't be so tight that it's hard to move, but you do want it fairly firm. And then the stainless cap then goes on top. Just be careful with that one. It does have almost like a piston ring in it that you need to seat in the top of this properly. So you can just get a screwdriver and push it in and push down at the same time, and that'll seat in there fairly nicely. And then give it a little tap on the top and that'll sit on there easy as. We then have the bracket here to mount the jerry can holder. Fairly self-explanatory again. Bolts here and on the back side as well. And then just bolt it onto the top bits here, and then the lower bracket will sit underneath, bolt into the lower bit, and then there's bolts for the top as well. So fairly easy. Run your number plate light wiring through it all. They give you little spots here for your cable ties, so you can run it all nice and neat behind everything. So that's all sweet. And then, yeah, that's it. It's all bolted up, easy as. We also did our latches, of course. We've got the latches on. So you'll use the stainless plate and then the color-coded plate as well to get all that bolted on nicely. Bolts in the top, they can be a bit of a pain because there's not much room in there to get into there. And then, yeah, you just bolt it on, make sure you got your height set correctly. And then, yeah, it's as easy as that. Use these bolts here to adjust how tight the actual latch is. So I've got mine fairly just snug but easy enough to use. And then bang, it's locked away nice and easy. And all your number plate wiring sits behind here. The number plate will go on here. So I'll have to take my number plate off, put it on there once I'm done doing all this. And then that's it. It's fairly straightforward, fairly easy enough to do. Just don't forget your brackets underneath your jerry can holder. And now we're moving on to doing the spare wheel carrier. So again, fairly straightforward process. Get the bag that's labelled, whatever it's labelled. It says tyre, upright and tyre head kit. Using your big bolts that come in that little bag straight through the middle, and that'll secure that on there. Then yeah, that's basically it. There's not really a whole heap to it. It just slips over the arm like that and then bolts through. It's that easy. So I'll get this bolted up and then show you the finished product. Alrighty, so we're all done and dusted, even mounted the number plate. So basically just now into the stage of where we need to just tidy up a few things and get a few things just finalized, and then it's all pretty much done. So we just need to do the gas struts, we need to tidy up the wiring underneath, we need to do the run for the number plate light, need to find where my wheel studs are so I can mount the spare tyre, and we're going to need to redo where the rear camera sits, because obviously can't actually see anything when we're reversing because that's where the rear camera is. A couple of little jobs to do. We'll be all Mickey Mouse sorted out, ready to go. So yeah, not too much left, a few little jobs, we'll tick them off and we'll be sweet to go. So I just thought I'd give my closing thoughts on the rear bar itself and just provide a little bit of feedback to the Cruiser company if they are watching this video. So I have actually spoken to the Cruiser company this morning and already provided them some feedback of things that I have found along the way, but I just thought I would highlight them a little bit more at the end of the video here. So there's only really 3 main issues with the bar and the install process. The instructional video, I totally understand, is just like their first revision of it. It's not going to be what the final install video is going to be like. There's a few steps in the process that you do miss out on, that you do have to figure out on your own, and that's fine. There's no issues with that at all, but just refining it a little bit more and walking through the steps a little bit more in detail would be good. There's just a few little bits and pieces in there that I was a little bit unsure of, but had to figure out on my own. And I mean, we've got it all together, so I've obviously figured it out and got it under control anyway, so it's not a big deal. But someone who, you know, may lack a little bit, and I suppose mechanical knowledge, may struggle a little bit with some of the parts of installing it. It does say, you know, if you are going to install this yourself, you do need to be mechanically minded, because there is a bit to it. There's a lot more to it than doing a bull bar. Bull bar was very straightforward. This is, yeah, a lot more challenging. They reckon it takes 7 to 10 hours to install a rear bar, and if you had someone to help you, then yeah, definitely would be an all-day job, like I did mention in the start of the video. Now I've got kids and that sort of thing and other commitments and things, so it's taken me a few days to get it all together, but that's okay, that's fine, that's just how things go. Not that I was in any sort of rush anyway, so it's all good. So the few little bits that I would recommend definitely is making a reverse camera relocation kit. Razzler make one, and I'm pretty sure Kamar makes one as well. For their rear bars. It'll just make the installation process so much easier. Tammy, the lady that I was speaking to, she's mentioned it a few times. Tammy has been great to deal with, dealt with her quite a bit through email and that sort of thing, just trying to get some updates on the rear bar and when it would be getting shipped. She's been fantastic. The customer service from the Cruiser company, from what I've experienced, has been excellent. It's second to none. Excellent customer service, and they're more than happy to help, and they get back to you super quick. So very impressed. Another thing that I did mention too was no mud flaps. They have mud flaps. They do have them, but I just didn't get any in my kit. So they're on the way as well. So we'll have mud flaps, so I don't have to worry about getting any and cutting them up myself. They do have them. So she sent me them as well, which is really helpful. So I'll be able to chuck them on and not get pulled over by the police. And another thing I did forget to mention when I was on the phone, but I did send them an email just highlighting the fact of the trailer plug wiring. That's sort of the biggest letdown, I think, of the kit. It's just the wiring. Like, I completely understand it. Like, this is their first, I suppose, revision of the kit. So it's not going to be 100% perfect, and that's okay. I don't mind. That's no dramas at all. The wiring for the trailer plug. Now, Razzler has a proper, like, custom trailer plug harness wiring kit for their rear bars, where you literally just have plugs for the lights and they plug straight into the trailer plug harness. So that's something that the Cruiser company definitely needs to do. I think Kamar probably has the same sort of thing. Cruiser company definitely needs to jump on board with doing the trailer plug harness, so you can just plug the lights straight in, so I don't need to strip wires and solder stuff and heat shrink everything and then conduit it all and worry about doing all that sort of stuff. But like I mentioned, it is, you know, brand new on the market. Tammy even said that she thinks that I'm probably the first person to install it by myself, not at a, you know, not getting it done at a shop. So, you know, this sort of information is pretty important for them to improve. And I mean, I'm by no means having a dig at the Cruiser Company at all. I'm just hoping to provide this information just in a constructive way to, you know, help them be 100% excellent with their rear bar. If you are looking for a rear bar, then I would certainly jump on the Cruiser Company website and check out all the options for their Y62 rear bar. I'm very happy with it, very happy with the company itself. So yeah, I highly recommend the Cruiser Company and their Y62 rear bar. Another thing too that they could have added just was the pinch seal for the sides as well. They could have just added that pinch seal. So there's a couple of little jobs that I still need to finish off. I'm not going to film it because it's boring. Do the number plate light. I probably will wait until I get the actual bracket for the number plate, just because it might change how it's positioned a little bit. Yeah, I'll still have to figure out where I need to wire that. And then I'll also probably have to buy the Razzler relocation kit for the reverse camera. I need to tidy up the wiring for the trailer plug, just have it a little bit more out of the way, not that you can really see anything because it's dark under here. And I also need to drill the holes for the airbag lines. And then that's it, it's all done, finished, 100%. Still need to put the covers around the sensors. So there's just a few little cosmetic things to tidy up, and then the bar is done. So thank you all for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this installation video. Hope it might make it a bit easier for those people that are going to do it themselves. Do you think it's going to be something that you'd put on your car, or are you going to go to a different brand? Be interested to know your thoughts down below, so please do let me know. As always guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.